It's strange how silent it gets in the morning. This quiet feels heavy, just like the weight of everything waiting for me on my to do list. Every deadline, every reading, it's there, almost staring back at me. And somehow, no matter how hard I work, it feels like it's never enough. Sometimes I wonder if it's just me trying to balance it all from lectures, assignments, and honestly, just life. People talk about university as the best years of your life, but what do you do when it's also the most overwhelming you felt, the most confusing, and the most lost? I always thought that by now I'd find a great group of friends here, people I could always count on, but the reality is that is not easy. Making friends feels so hard sometimes, and honestly, it can be isolating. I see people who seem to have it all figured out, and it makes me feel like maybe I'm the only one struggling with this. There are days when I'd give anything to be home, even just for a little bit, to either sit at the kitchen table or in the living room and just hear the usual sounds of my parents around me. There's comfort, strangely, in that noise, in their voices. And it's that little ache, this small pang of homesickness, that catches up to me the most when things get tough. On top of all of that, there's this constant worry about money. The financial side of things is real. I'm always calculating, always budgeting, always trying to make things stretch. It's a pressure that doesn't go away and it adds to everything else I'm trying to keep up with. Honestly, I am tired. Not just physically, but this constant underlying tiredness that never really leaves. It's like I'm always on edge, moving from one thing to the next, barely catching my breath. And when I do try to rest, I'm already thinking about the next thing I have to do tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. I'm trying my hardest to create little moments of peace to keep me going. Maybe it's just a walk with no destination, going to the gym, staring at the sky, or doing some self care. It's just these little acts that serve as reminders to pause and to let go of the rush just for a moment. But then, when it's late, when I'm sitting here under the weight of everything, I think about everyone else going through the exact same feelings that I have. One of the hardest parts for me has been feeling isolated. Isolated in my thoughts and how I'm feeling and the things I'm going through. It does make it easier if you have a good group or a great balance of friends to support you and that can understand or relate to you. But making those connections isn't easy. It is hard sometimes, maybe going to events on my own, walking into lectures or seminars, whatever, and seeing people who already have their own people. And don't get me wrong, I do my best to reach out, to talk to people, and I have been scarred, but that's a story time for another day. I'm quite introverted in nature, and I don't think you guys might believe that based on like my videos and stuff. But I feel like it's easier for me to be my outgoing self through my videos because in a way no one is seeing me in that present time until I upload, until I click post. And I don't know, I find it easier to be myself when I'm on my own because that's when I'm most comfortable. So when I'm most comfortable around people that I am most comfortable with, that is when I am my genuine self. There are so many of us struggling with this, even if we don't necessarily talk about it. It might feel like we're doing something wrong and make us question our worth and who we are as people. But I don't think that should be the case. It's really hard to shake the feeling that I'm not falling behind. Like there's always something I feel like I should be doing. It starts to feel like rest is a luxury. It's a reward that I can only achieve or get if I finish maybe all the assignments I have to, all the other productive stuff in my life. And I just know that is not sustainable in the long run. It's funny in a way because these struggles feel so personal when I go through them. But the more I open up about it, the more I realize that I'm not alone. And it might not necessarily give me a solution on how to stop feeling that way, but I feel less crazy or knowing there's someone else dealing with the same thing as me. And in knowing that, I think it's important to talk about these things, to admit that it's okay if things aren't perfect or the way we thought they would be or the way we maybe planned. If these don't feel like the best years of your life right now, that is fine. We're all trying to figure it out. We all have our struggles. We all have things that we're dealing with in our own ways. And maybe just knowing that we're not alone, we're in this together, can make the journey a little bit easier and a little bit comforting.